Okay, Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera. So now let's proceed to the importance of fermentation. Okay, so first of all, you look at the importance of fermentation in bakery. Okay, so for this one, we're using common yeast. Okay, for the example, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, so from the process of fermentation, it will produce carbon dioxide which cause bread to rise and become porous. Okay, and then next. Okay, it can also produce beer and wine that contain alcohol, carbon dioxide, and water. So, the production of beer and wine is by using Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, and then the other one, the importance of fermentation, we can look at the production of the dairy product. Okay, like making cheese and also yogurt. Okay, so the example is Lactobacillus bulgaricus. So it will produce lactic acid in yogurt, which give the yogurt flavor. Okay, so now we look at the comparison, okay, or compare and contrast between fermentation and also aerobic respiration. Okay, so let's say if the question asks you to compare between fermentation and also aerobic respiration, okay, so you have to give both similarity and also the differences. Okay, so first kali kita tengok dulu similarity. So apa similarity? Persamaan. Okay, in between fermentation and also aerobic respiration. Okay, first, both are cellular respiration. And then both generate ATP by substrate level phosphorylation. Okay, so yang ini sebenarnya kita refers kepada kalau untuk fermentation and also aerobic respiration based on the production of ATP, it is by the substrate level phosphorylation, in specific by the process of glycolysis. So that's why for the third similarity, both involve glycolysis. Macam yang saya dah katakan sebelum ni, okay, untuk proses cellular respiration, apa-apa pun dia akan bermula dengan proses glycolysis by which glucose will be split into 2 molecule of pyruvate. So dalam keadaan ada oksigen, so what happen to the pyruvate? Pyruvate will proceed with the link reaction to produce acetyl-CoA, and then acetyl-CoA will enter Krebs cycle, and then next it will enter the electron transport chain and also chemiosmosis. But what happened to the pyruvate? Okay, when there is absence of oxygen, pyruvate will undergo fermentation. So fermentation, if it is occurs in the plant cell, so we call as alcohol fermentation. If it is occurs in animal cell, so we call that as lactic acid fermentation. Okay, and the next similarity, both involve NAD+ as the electron acceptor during glycolysis. So that's why if the question asks you what is the function of NAD+, it will act as electron acceptor because NAD+ will accept the electron. Okay, in specific, kalau untuk fermentation and aerobic respiration, so both involve NAD+ as the electron acceptor during glycolysis. Kenapa glycolysis? Disebabkan oleh both fermentation and aerobic respiration will undergo glycolysis. Okay, and then next, both use glucose as the respiratory substrate. Okay, so now we look at the differences between fermentation and also aerobic respiration. So you have to take note what are the differences between both of this process. Okay, the first one, for fermentation, it will produce 2 ATP. So where does this 2 ATP comes from? It is from the process of glycolysis. Okay, but for aerobic respiration, it will produce 38 or 36 ATP. So kalau active cell, dia akan hasilkan 38 ATP. Okay, normal cell, it will produce 36 ATP. So, maksudnya dia punya perbezaan ATP for both fermentation dengan aerobic respiration ni adalah sangat berbeza. Okay, fermentation, it will occur in anaerobic condition. So, what is the meaning of anaerobic condition? So, fermentation will occur in the absence of the oxygen. Okay, why? Aerobic respiration, it will occur in aerobic condition or presence of the oxygen. And then fermentation, it will take place in cytosol. Maksudnya dia cuma berlaku pada cytosol sahaja. Maksudnya pyruvate does not enter the mitochondria. So proses fermentation tu, bila kita katakan dalam keadaan tiada oksigen, so pyruvate will remain in the cytosol. Okay, and then it will proceed with the process of fermentation. But for aerobic respiration, it will take place in cytosol and also mitochondria. Okay, and then next for fermentation, only NAD+ is the oxidizing agent that accept electron from substrate during glycolysis. So kalau untuk fermentation, dia cuma akan melibatkan NAD+ sahaja sebagai oxidizing agent. And then kita akan jumpa dekat mana? NAD+ will accept the electron, okay, from the substrate during the process of glycolysis. But for aerobic respiration, NAD+ and FAD. So ada dua oxidizing agent for aerobic respiration. NAD plus and FAD are the oxidizing agent that accept electron from substrate. Okay, and then next different, the last electron acceptor from NADH is an organic molecule. For the example, pyruvate. Okay. So maksudnya dekat sini, kalau untuk fermentation, let's say if the question asks what is the last electron acceptor, okay, from NADH, so the answer is pyruvate. But for aerobic respiration, okay, the last electron acceptor from NADH and FADH2 is oxygen. So let's say if the question asks you, what is the last electron acceptor or what is the final electron acceptor in aerobic respiration? So the answer is oxygen. Okay. And then for fermentation, production of ATP is by substrate level phosphorylation. So means that the generation of ATP, okay, dia hanya akan berlaku melalui substrate level phosphorylation sahaja in specific from the process of glycolysis. Okay, but for aerobic respiration, the production of ATP is by substrate level phosphorylation and oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so the comparison between fermentation and also aerobic respiration, you have to take note. Okay.